The crystal towers of Nexus Prime reached high into the purple sky. Inside the biggest tower, the Galactic Council was having their daily meeting. 47 different alien species sat around a huge circular table. They were talking about trade routes and who owned which planets. Commander Tejo of the Corvan Empire was angry. His red skin was darker than usual and his forearms moved quickly as he spoke. "The pirates are getting worse," he said. "They attacked 3 more ships this week. We need to send our warships after them." Ambassador Mira from the Valian Federation shook her blue head. Her people were peaceful and did not like fighting. "Violence only makes more violence," she said in her soft voice. "We should try to talk to them first." Taiho laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the big room. "Talk to pirates? They only understand force, Ambassador." In the back of the room, Scholar Jiwan sat quietly. He was also from the Corvan Empire, but he spent his time reading old books instead of fighting. His 3 eyes were focused on an ancient datapad in his hands. While the others argued about pirates, he was reading about something much older and more dangerous. The datapad showed stories from 300 years ago, stories about a species called humans. Most people thought these stories were just myths, like fairy tales told to children. But Jiwan had spent 20 years studying these old records, and he believed they were real. According to the stories, humans were warriors from a place called the Milky Way Galaxy. They had ships that could move faster than light in ways no one understood. Their weapons could destroy entire fleets, but the strangest thing about humans was not their power, it was how they used it. The old record said humans were smart fighters who could win battles against impossible odds. They could think of plans that no one else could imagine. Some stories even said they could see the future in battle, but they also said humans were kind to those who needed help. "Scholar G1, a voice called out. It was Council Leader Vex, the oldest member of the council. His green skin was wrinkled with age and his 6 eyes looked tired. "You have been quiet today. Do you have thoughts about the pirate problem?" G1 looked up from his datapad. "I was reading about the old days," he said. "About species that used to protect trade routes from pirates." "What species?" Mira asked. She was always interested in learning about other cultures. "Humans," Jiwan said. The room became very quiet. Then several council members started laughing. Tejo laughed the loudest. "Humans are not real," Tejo said. "They are stories made up to scare young soldiers. My military teachers told me these stories when I was learning to fight. They said humans were monsters who could destroy anything." "The stories say they were not monsters," Jiwan said calmly. "They were protectors. They helped other species fight against a great plague that came from empty space." "Fairy tales," said Council Member Crix from the Zentari Republic. His bug-like face showed no emotion. "There is no proof that humans ever existed. Our scientists have looked for their homeworld. Nothing." Jiwan wanted to argue, but he knew no one would listen. He had found hints in the old records that humans had been erased from history on purpose, but he could not prove it yet. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. They talked about taxes and new laws. They argued about which species could join the council next. Finally, Council Leader Vex ended the meeting. As everyone was leaving, an alarm started ringing. The sound was loud and scary. Red lights flashed on the walls. "What is happening?" Mira asked. A young officer ran into the room. His name was Lieutenant Juan, and he worked in the communications center. His face was white with fear. "Council Leader Vex," he said, breathing hard. "Our long-range sensors have detected something." "What kind of something?" Vex asked. "Ships, sir. Very big ships. They are coming from outside our galaxy." Tejo stepped forward. As the military commander, this was his job. "How many ships?" "We are not sure, sir. The energy readings are very strange. Our computers cannot count them properly." "Where are they coming from?" Vex asked. "From the void, sir. The empty space between galaxies. They are moving very fast, but not like normal ships." Jiwan felt his heart start beating faster. The Corvan people had 2 hearts, and both of his were racing now. "What do you mean, not like normal ships?" Lieutenant Juan looked confused. "They seem to be bending space around them, sir. Our scientists say it should be impossible. They are moving through space in ways we have never seen." The council members looked at each other with worry. In 300 years, they had never seen ships that could travel between galaxies. Most species could barely travel between star systems. "How long until they reach our space?" Tejo asked. 3 days, sir. Maybe less." Vex thought for a moment. "This could be a new species that wants to join our council." We should send a diplomatic ship to meet them. I will go, said Captain Dongyun. He was one of the best diplomatic officers in the Council fleet. My ship is fast and has good communication equipment. Take a small fleet with you, Teho said, just in case these newcomers are not friendly. No weapons, Mira said quickly. If they are peaceful, weapons will scare them. If they are not peaceful, weapons will not help anyway. As the council members rushed to prepare, Jiwan stayed behind. He looked at his datapad again, reading the old stories about human ships that could tear through space-time itself. His hands were shaking as he read one particular line. Human vessels moved through space like ghosts, appearing where they should not be, striking from impossible angles. Lieutenant Huan was still in the room, talking to other officers on his communication device. Jiwan walked over to him. Lieutenant, Jiwan said quietly, can you show me the exact energy readings from these ships? Huan looked confused but handed him a small device. The readings made Jiwan's blood turn cold. The energy patterns were exactly like the ones described in the oldest human legends. Lieutenant, Jiwan said, his voice barely a whisper, I think we are about to meet the humans. But sir, Huan said, humans are just stories. Jiwan looked out the big window at the stars. Somewhere out there, ships were coming that might change everything they knew about their galaxy. I hope you are right, he said, because if they are real, we have a very big problem. The alarm kept ringing as officers ran through the hallways. No one knew that their peaceful galaxy was about to meet the species they had tried to forget, the species that never forgot anything. In 3 days, the legends would become real. Captain Dongyun stood on the bridge of his ship, the Harmony's Edge. He was nervous but tried not to show it. His crew of 12 officers from different species worked at their stations. They were 3 hours away from meeting the unknown ships. Lieutenant Soyoung, Dongyun said to his communications officer, are you ready to try first contact? Soyoung was a young woman from the Aquatic Federation. Her blue skin was wet because her species needed water to stay healthy. Yes, Captain. I have the standard greeting message ready in 47 languages. The unknown ships appeared on their main screen. Dongyun had seen many different types of ships in his 20 years as a diplomatic officer, but these were unlike anything in the database. They were black and seemed to absorb light around them. Worse, they seemed to flicker in and out of sight like they were not completely there. How many ships do you count? Dongyun asked his sensor officer. I am not sure, Captain. Sometimes I see 12 ships. Sometimes I see 20. They keep appearing and disappearing. That should be impossible, said Lieutenant Kang, the science officer. Nothing can phase in and out of normal space like that. So-young looked up from her station. Captain, I am getting strange readings from their communication systems. They are scanning our ship, but not with any technology I recognize. Try the greeting message, Dongyun ordered. So-young pressed several buttons on her control panel. Unknown ships, this is the diplomatic vessel Harmony's Edge of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and wish to welcome you to our galaxy. Please respond. They waited. The bridge was very quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. After 2 minutes, the main screen lit up with an incoming message. A face appeared on the screen. It was clearly human, pale skin, dark hair, 2 eyes. But there was something in those eyes that made everyone on the bridge feel cold. The human looked tired, like someone who had not slept for a very long time. This is Admiral Kyungmin of the Terran Defense Fleet, the human said. Her voice was clear and strong, speaking perfect galactic standard with no translator needed. We seek the Galactic Council responsible for the massacre at Kepler Station. The bridge became silent. Donghyun felt his stomach drop. Kepler Station was destroyed 200 years ago. According to the records, pirates had attacked it and killed everyone there. But this human was talking like the Council had done it. Admiral, Dongyun said carefully, there may be some misunderstanding. Kepler Station was destroyed by pirates long ago. The Council had nothing to do with it. The human admiral's eyes became even colder. Captain, we have the communications logs from that attack. We have the ship identification codes. We have the bodies of our people who died there. The ships that attacked Kepler Station were Council vessels. Lieutenant So-young was typing quickly on her computer, trying to access old records. Captain, she whispered, I cannot find any details about Kepler Station in our database. The file is classified. On Nexus Prime, Scholar Jiwan was watching this conversation on his emergency communication device. He was running through the archives, searching for anything about Kepler Station. What he found made him sick. Buried deep in the classified military files was a report from 200 years ago. A Corvan fleet had found what they thought was an abandoned station in the border regions. They had attacked it to test new weapons. Only later did they discover it was not abandoned. It was humanity's first diplomatic mission to their galaxy. The report had been classified immediately. All references to humans had been removed from public records. The attack was blamed on pirates that never existed. Back on the Harmony's edge, Admiral Kyungmin was still talking. "Captain Dongyun, we demand an audience with the full Galactic Council. They have 30 standard days to confess their crimes and stand trial." "Admiral," Dongyun said, "even if what you say is true, the people responsible are long dead. This happened 2 centuries ago. Some of them are still alive," the Admiral said. "More importantly, the Council as an organization is still responsible. They covered up mass murder and genocide." "Genocide?" Lieutenant Kang asked before he could stop himself. Another face appeared on the screen next to the Admiral. This was a younger human man with cold, calculating eyes. "I am Captain Wujin, Tactical Officer." After Kepler Station, Council ships hunted down every human colony and trading post in this galaxy. 47 settlements, 2 million people, all destroyed to hide the original crime. Dongyun felt like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. "That cannot be true. We have the proof," Admiral Kyungmin said. "Every attack, every cover-up, every lie told to your people." "What do you want from us?" Dongyun asked. "Justice," the Admiral said simply. "The Council will confess publicly, pay reparations to the survivors, and face trial for war crimes. Or they will face the consequences. And if they refuse," Admiral Kyungmin did not answer with words. Instead, something impossible happened. Every weapon system on every ship in Dongyun's small fleet suddenly shut down. "Not damaged, just turned off, as if someone had flipped a switch. How did you do that?" Lieutenant Kang demanded. Captain Wujin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Your weapon systems are very primitive. We can control them from here without trying very hard." The weapons came back online a few seconds later, but the message was clear. The humans could have destroyed them all without effort. "Take our message to your council," Admiral Kyungmin said. 30 days. We will wait at the edge of your system." The screen went black. The human ships faded away until only faint sensor contacts remained. Lieutenant So-young was staring at her instruments. "Captain, according to my readings, those ships are not there anymore." "What do you mean?" "They have completely disappeared from sensors. But the communication channel is still open, so they must still be there. It is like they exist and do not exist at the same time." Dongyun sat down in his captain's chair. His hands were shaking. "Lieutenant So-young, send an emergency message to the council. Tell them we need to speak with them immediately." "What should I tell them?" "Tell them the legends are real. Tell them the humans have come back. And tell them we are in very serious trouble." On Nexus Prime, Scholar Jiwan was running through the corridors toward the council chamber. He had printed out every classified file he could find about the human attacks. He knew that most of the council did not even know what their predecessors had done. As he ran, he thought about the old stories. They said humans never forgot an injury to their friends. They said humans would travel to the ends of the universe to protect the innocent or punish the guilty. The stories also said that humans were patient. They could wait decades or centuries for the right moment to act. But when they finally moved, nothing could stop them. Jiwan burst into the council chamber just as the emergency alarm started ringing. Commander Taeho was already there, shouting orders to his military officers. "Commander," Jiwan called out, "you need to see these files." "Not now, Scholar. We have a military crisis." "This is the military crisis," Jiwan said. "The humans are here because we killed them first." The room became quiet as Jiwan explained what he had found. With each word, the faces of the council members grew more pale. They had 30 days to decide, confess to genocide, or face the wrath of humanity. The clock was already ticking. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going for 6 hours. The great chamber was filled with angry voices as 47 species argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight the humans. Others wanted to hide. A few wanted to surrender immediately. Commander Taeho stood at the center of the room, his 4 arms waving as he spoke. "We cannot give in to threats," he said loudly. "If we show weakness now, every species in the galaxy will think they can demand things from us. But what if they are telling the truth?" Asked Ambassador Mira. She looked tired and worried. What if we really did kill their people? Even if we did, Taiho replied. That was 200 years ago. The people who made those decisions are dead. We should not pay for the crimes of our ancestors. Scholar Jiwan had been quiet for most of the meeting, but now he stood up. In his hands were thick folders full of documents. Commander Taiho, he said, I have spent the last week going through our classified archives. I have found proof that the humans are telling the truth. The room became quiet. Council Leader Vex looked very old and tired. Show us what you have found. Jiwan activated the large display screen at the front of the room. Images appeared. Military reports, ship logs, and photographs that made several council members look away. This is the report from the attack on Kepler Station, Jiwan said. Admiral Zekton of the Corvin fleet found what he thought was an abandoned space station. He decided to use it for target practice with new plasma cannons. The image showed a space station exploding in bright flashes of light. Only after the attack did they scan the debris and find bodies. The station was not abandoned. It was humanity's first diplomatic mission to our galaxy. 57 people died, including women and children. Ambassador Mira put her hand over her mouth. We killed diplomats? We killed children? It gets worse, Jiwan continued. He changed the image to show a list of locations. After Admiral Zekton realized what he had done, he reported it to his commanders. Instead of confessing the mistake, they decided to cover it up. The next image showed military orders with official seals. High Command ordered the destruction of all human settlements in our galaxy. They said it was necessary to prevent humans from seeking revenge. Over the next 5 years, 47 human colonies and trading posts were destroyed. How many people? Asked Councilmember Crix. 2,137,000, Jiwan said quietly. Men, women, children, elderly, all killed to hide one mistake. The room was completely silent now. Many of the council members were looking at their hands or the floor. They could not look at the images on the screen. After the genocide was complete, Jiwan continued, all records were classified. The attacks were blamed on pirates that never existed. Stories about humans were changed to make them sound like dangerous monsters instead of the peaceful diplomats they actually were. Commander Taiho was still standing, but he looked shaken. Even if this is true, what can we do now? We cannot bring back the dead. The humans are not asking us to bring back the dead, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Admiral Kyungmin standing at the entrance to the chamber. She had somehow gotten past all the security guards without anyone noticing. Behind her were 2 other humans, a man in a military uniform and a woman in a white coat. How did you get in here? Taiho demanded. The man in uniform smiled. I am Captain Wu Jin. Your security systems are not very good. This is Dr. He Jin, Admiral Kyungmin said, pointing to the woman. She is our xenobiologist and our record keeper. She has been documenting your crimes for the past 3 centuries. Dr. He Jin stepped forward and placed a small device on the council table. It projected images into the air, thousands of them showing destroyed human settlements, mass graves, and falsified reports. We did not come here for revenge, Admiral Kyungmin said. We came here for justice. There is a difference. What kind of justice? Asked Council Leader Vex. First, the Council must confess publicly to all species in the galaxy. Tell them what really happened to humanity. Second, you must pay reparations to the survivors. Third, those responsible for covering up the genocide must stand trial. Survivors? Ambassador Mira asked. But you said everyone was killed. Not everyone, Dr. Hyjin said. Some humans were away from the colonies when the attacks happened. Some were on deep space missions. Some were in places your ships could not reach. We spent 3 centuries gathering them together and planning for this day. Captain Wu Jin activated his own device. New images appeared. Human ships, human cities, human children being born and growing up in secret places far from the galaxy. There are 5 million humans alive today, he said. We have spent 300 years building new ships, developing new technology, and preparing for our return. What if we refuse your demands? Commander Taiho asked. Admiral Kyungmin looked at him with cold eyes. Then we will do what we should have done 3 centuries ago. We will remove the Galactic Council from power and take control of this galaxy ourselves. You cannot fight all of us, Taiho said. We have millions of ships and billions of soldiers. Commander, Captain Wu Jin said calmly, would you like me to demonstrate our capabilities? Before anyone could answer, every light in the chamber went out except for the emergency lighting. Then every computer screen started showing the same message. Terran Defense Fleet. Justice is coming. The lights came back on a few seconds later. Admiral Kyungmin had not moved, but somehow she had taken control of every system in the most secure building in the galaxy. "We are not here to conquer you," she said. "We are here to replace a corrupt system with something better. Your council has had 3 centuries to create peace and justice. Instead, you have created fear and lies." Scholar Jiwan stepped forward. "Admiral, many of us did not know about these crimes. We were lied to, just like everyone else." "We know," Dr. Heejin said kindly. "We have been watching your galaxy for a long time. We know which leaders are guilty and which are innocent. We know which species have suffered under council rule and which have benefited." She pointed to Ambassador Mira. "We know that the Velian Federation tried to stop several wars but was ignored. We know that Scholar Jiwan has been searching for the truth about humans for 20 years. We know that many good people serve in this council. Then why threaten all of us?" Mira asked. "Because the system is broken," Admiral Kyungmin said. "Good people working in a broken system cannot create justice. The system must be replaced." Council leader Vex stood up slowly. He was very old and had served on the council for 60 years. "Admiral, if we agree to your demands, what happens to us? Those guilty of crimes will face trial. Those who are innocent will be offered positions in the new government if they want them. The goal is justice, not revenge, and if we refuse..." Admiral Kyungmin looked around the room at all the different species. "Then in 30 days this council will cease to exist. We will take control of all council worlds and begin trials ourselves. It will be much harder for everyone, but the result will be the same." She turned to leave, then stopped. "You have 29 days left to decide. Choose wisely." The 3 humans walked out of the chamber as quietly as they had entered. The council members sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Commander Taeho spoke. "They are bluffing. They cannot really control our entire galaxy with just a few ships." Scholar Jiwan looked at the documents still scattered on the table. "Commander, these humans spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. They have technology we cannot understand. They have patience we cannot match. And most importantly, they have something we lost long ago." "What is that?" "They have the moral authority that comes from being the victims instead of the perpetrators." Ambassador Mira stood up. "I think we should confess. The truth will come out eventually anyway. At least this way we can control how it happens." "Never," Taeho said. "I will not let terrorists dictate terms to the council." "They are not terrorists," Jiwan said quietly. "They are the ghosts of our victims, come back to demand justice." The debate continued for hours, but everyone knew that the real decision would be made in the next 29 days. The humans were waiting patiently, just as they had waited for 3 centuries, and everyone in the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity's patience finally ran out. The Galactic Council had split into 2 groups. Commander Taeho led the hardliners who wanted to fight the humans. Ambassador Mira led the peace faction who wanted to confess and accept the human demands. For 2 weeks they argued while the clock ticked down. Taeho stood in the war room deep inside Nexus Prime. Around him were holographic displays showing every military ship in the galaxy. The numbers looked impressive. 3 million warships from 30 different species. Surely even legendary humans could not fight against such overwhelming force. "General Yihan," Taeho said to his chief of staff, "how many ships can we gather here within the next week?" General Yihan was studying the tactical displays. His green skin was marked with the ritual scars that showed his rank in the Corvan military. "We can bring together 500,000 ships, Commander. Maybe more if we call in the reserves." "Excellent. The humans may have superior technology, but they cannot fight 500,000 ships with just a few dozen of their own." Lieutenant Huan, who had first detected the human ships, was also in the war room. He looked worried. "Commander, our sensor readings show that the human ships are still doing impossible things. They appear and disappear. Sometimes our instruments say they are in 3 different places at the same time." "Sensor tricks," Taeho said dismissively. "They are trying to make us afraid. But when the real fighting starts, their ships will be just as vulnerable as anyone else's." Meanwhile, in another part of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Mira was meeting with Scholar Jiwan and representatives from a dozen species. They were trying to find a peaceful solution before it was too late. "We have to make Taeho understand," Mira said. "If we fight the humans, we will lose. Even if we win the battle, we will lose everything else. The truth about what we did will spread across the galaxy. Scholar Jiwan had more documents spread across the table. I have been researching human military history from before they came to our galaxy. Mira, these people fought a war against something called the Void Plague that lasted for 50 years. They developed weapons and tactics that our best generals cannot understand. What kind of weapons? Asked Ambassador Keth from the Crystalline Collective. Space-time manipulation, quantum phase shifting, probability cascade weapons. These are just words to us, but the humans made them real. Outside the space station, the human fleet waited at the edge of the solar system. To most sensors, they were barely visible, but Captain Wu Jin was watching everything that happened on Nexus Prime with perfect clarity. Admiral, he said to Kyungmin, the Council military is gathering ships. My estimate is 400 to 600,000 vessels within 1 week. Admiral Kyungmin was standing in front of a large window, looking out at the stars. Are you concerned, Captain? Not about the battle, Wu Jin replied. But I am concerned about the loss of life. Many of those ships will have crews who do not know about the genocide. They think they are defending their homes from invaders. Dr. He-jin is working on that problem, the Admiral said. In the medical bay of the flagship, Dr. He-jin was indeed working on the problem. She had spent the last week preparing a special broadcast that would go out to every ship, every planet, and every communication device in the galaxy. The broadcast contained proof of the Council's crimes, video recordings, documents, witness testimony from the few human survivors who remembered the attacks. Engineer Jinho, she called to the man working at a nearby console. Are you ready to override their communication networks? Engineer Jinho looked up from his work. His hands were covered in what looked like liquid metal that moved and shifted as he worked. Almost ready, Doctor. The quantum communication nodes are in position. When you give the signal, every person in this galaxy will see your broadcast, even on worlds that try to block it, especially on those worlds. The harder they try to stop the signal, the stronger it will become. Back on Nexus Prime, the arguments continued. Commander Taiho had convinced 23 species to support military action. Ambassador Mira had convinced 19 species to support confession and negotiation. 5 species were still undecided. Time is running out, Taiho announced to the full council. In 10 days, those human terrorists will either attack us or leave. I prefer to strike first and show them that the Galactic Council cannot be threatened. They are not terrorists, Scholar Jiwan said for the 100th time. They are the victims of our genocide seeking justice. Justice? Taiho laughed bitterly. Where was justice when my grandfather died fighting pirates? Where was justice when the plague killed millions on Corvin colonies? Life is not fair, Scholar. The strong survive and the weak perish. That attitude is exactly why we are in this situation, Ambassador Mira said. For 3 centuries, the Council has used strength to avoid responsibility. Now someone stronger has come to hold us accountable. Council Leader Vex had been quiet during most of these arguments. He was old enough to remember some of the events from 200 years ago. Finally, he spoke. Commander Taiho, I have decided to support confession and reparations. The room became silent. As Council Leader, Vex's vote carried special weight. You cannot be serious, Taiho said. I am completely serious. I have reviewed Scholar Jiwan's evidence. I have spoken with the oldest members of my species who remember those times. The humans are telling the truth about what we did. Even if they are, we cannot change the past. No, but we can change the future. If we confess and pay reparations, at least we keep our honor. If we fight and lose, we will be remembered as the cowards who added more crimes to cover up the first ones. Taiho's face grew dark with anger. Council Leader Vex, I formally challenge your authority under Military Emergency Protocol 7. The Council is under threat of imminent attack. Military command takes precedence over diplomatic authority. Several Council members gasped. Protocol 7 had not been used in over a century. It meant that military officers could override civilian leadership during wartime. You cannot do this, Mira protested. I can and I will, Taiho said. By the authority granted to me as Supreme Military Commander, I declare a state of war between the Galactic Council and the human invaders. All ships will prepare for battle. As alarms began ringing throughout Nexus Prime, Dr. He-jin's broadcast went out across the galaxy. On billions of screens, the truth about the human genocide began to play. People saw the real documents, the real recordings, the real evidence that their leaders had tried to hide. On planet after planet, Riots began as people learned that their government had committed genocide and then lied about it for 3 centuries. Some species tried to block the broadcast, but engineer Jinho's quantum technology made that impossible. The truth spread like wildfire through hyperspace communication networks. Captain Wu Jin watched the sensor readings as council fleets gathered around Nexus Prime. "Admiral, they have assembled over 400,000 ships. More are arriving every hour. And our fleet? 47 ships as planned." Admiral Kyungmin smiled for the first time since arriving in the galaxy. "Perfect. When we win this battle with such overwhelming odds against us, no one will ever again doubt humanity's right to rule this galaxy." "The enemy fleet is beginning to move toward us," Wu Jin reported. "Let them come. For 3 centuries we have waited for this moment. Commander Taeho wants to solve this with violence instead of justice. Very well. We will show him what happens when humans are forced to fight." On Nexus Prime, Scholar Jawan watched the fleet departing through his office window. He had tried to prevent this war but failed. Now hundreds of thousands of people would die because one man refused to admit his government's crimes. "Scholar," a voice said behind him. He turned to see Ambassador Mira standing in his doorway. "Ambassador, have you come to watch the end of our civilization?" "No," she said. "I have come to ask you to help me send a message to Admiral Kyungmin. When this battle is over, someone will need to help rebuild. Someone who knows the truth and is willing to work for justice instead of revenge." Jawan looked back out the window at the fleet of ships heading toward their doom. "What makes you think the humans will want our help after what we have done?" "Because," Mira said, "they came here seeking justice, not destruction. If we prove that some of us are willing to work for justice too, maybe we can build something better from the ruins of what we are about to lose." In space, the 2 fleets moved toward each other. One side had overwhelming numbers. The other side had something much more dangerous. They had the moral authority of the wronged and 3 centuries of preparation for this exact moment. The Battle of Nexus Prime was about to begin. The space around Nexus Prime filled with warships. Commander Taiho's massive fleet formed a wall of metal and weapons stretching for thousands of kilometers, 450,000 ships from 30 species, all ready to destroy the small human fleet that waited calmly at the edge of the system. Taiho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vengeance of Corva. Around him, officers worked at control stations while holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in both fleets. The numbers looked perfect, 47. Human ships against nearly 500,000 council vessels. "All ships report ready for battle," announced General Yihan. "We have them completely surrounded." "Excellent," Taeho said. "Open a channel to the human fleet. I want to give them one last chance to surrender." The main screen showed Admiral Kyungmin's face. She looked calm, as if she was discussing the weather instead of facing impossible odds. "Admiral," Taeho said, "you are outnumbered 10,000 to 1. Surrender now and we will allow your people to leave our galaxy unharmed." "Commander Taeho," Kyungmin replied, "you still do not understand what you are facing. This is not a battle between fleets. This is a reckoning. Justice has been delayed for 3 centuries, but it will not be denied." "Justice?" Taeho laughed. "You call threatening innocent people justice? I call holding war criminals accountable justice. Your fleet contains 47 ships that participated in the attacks on human colonies. We know because we have been tracking their identification codes for 300 years. Captain Wu Jin appeared beside the Admiral on the screen. "Commander, would you like me to highlight those ships for you?" Before Taiho could answer, 47 ships in his fleet suddenly lit up with bright red markers. Every other ship's computer showed the same targeting information. Somehow, the humans had taken control of their tactical networks without anyone noticing. "How are you doing this?" demanded General Yihan. "Your technology is 3 centuries behind ours," Wu Jin said simply. "We can read your computer systems like children's books." Admiral Kyungmin's expression became serious. "Commander Taiho, I am giving you one final warning. Order your fleet to stand down or face the consequences." "Never," Taiho snarled. "All ships open fire." The Council fleet fired everything they had. Hundreds of thousands of energy beams, missiles, and plasma cannons aimed at the 47 human ships. The space between the fleets lit up like a miniature sun as enough firepower to destroy planets streaked toward the human vessels. Then something impossible happened. Every single shot missed. The human ships flickered and became transparent just as the weapons reached them. Energy beams passed through empty space where solid vessels had been a moment before. Missiles found no targets and exploded harmlessly in the void. What just happened? Tejo demanded. Sir, his sensor officer reported, the human ships have shifted into a different phase of spacetime. They are here but not here at the same time. The human ships became solid again, but now they were in completely different positions. 3 of them had somehow appeared inside the Council formation, surrounded by friendly ships that could not fire without hitting each other. All ships, Captain Wu Jin's voice came over the communication system. This is your only warning. Any vessel that continues to attack will be destroyed. This is some kind of trick, Tejo said. All ships continue firing. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration of technological superiority so complete that it seemed like magic. The human ships moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. When they fired their weapons, Council ships simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no debris. They were there one moment and gone the next. But the humans were not randomly destroying ships. With surgical precision, they eliminated only the vessels that had participated in the genocide. The 47 marked ships vanished one by one, erased from existence by weapons that the Council could not understand. Admiral Kyungmin came a transmission from one of the Council ships. This is Captain Nara of the Velian cruiser Peaceseeker. My ship was not involved in any attacks on human colonies. Please do not destroy us. Captain Nara, the Admiral replied, check your tactical display. You will see that your ship is not targeted. We know which vessels are guilty and which are innocent. On Nexus Prime, Scholar Jawan and Ambassador Mira watched the battle through the station's sensor feeds. What they saw defied all military logic. The human fleet was outnumbered 10,000 to 1, but they were winning easily. How is this possible? Mira whispered. I told you, Jawan said. The humans spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. They developed technology that makes our best ships look like primitive toys. On the screen, they watched as more Council ships simply disappeared. But the humans were not destroying randomly. They were executing a carefully planned operation to eliminate war criminals while sparing the innocent. Commander Tejo was screaming orders on his bridge, but nothing worked. His weapons could not hit targets that existed in multiple dimensions at once. His ships could not escape enemies that could appear anywhere instantly. Sir, General Yihan reported, we have lost 60% of our fleet. The humans are not even damaged. How many of our ships have they actually destroyed? Tejo asked. Only the ones that were marked, sir. They are ignoring the rest of our fleet. For the first time, Tejo began to understand what was happening. The humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy. They were conducting a precise military operation to eliminate specific targets. They were not invaders. They were executioners. A new voice came over the communication system. It was Sergeant Young-ho, a human marine whose ship had just appeared next to Tejo's flagship. Commander Tejo, Young-ho said, you are under arrest for war crimes. My great-grandmother died at Kepler Station. Her name was Yunji, and she was a diplomatic translator. She was 23 years old. You cannot board my ship, Tejo protested. My shields are at full power. Your shields only work against weapons and ships from your own level of technology, Young-ho replied. We stopped using technology like yours centuries ago. Human marines in advanced armor began materializing on the bridge of Tejo's flagship. They moved through the ship's hull as if it was not there, appearing wherever they wanted to be. General Yihan drew his weapon, but it was useless. The human armor seemed to absorb energy beams without effect. Within minutes, the bridge crew was captured. This is impossible, Tejo said as human soldiers placed restraints on his arms. You cannot defeat the entire galaxy with just 47 ships. Sergeant Young-ho removed his helmet, revealing a young face with old eyes. Commander, we are not defeating the galaxy. We are removing a corrupt government and replacing it with something better. The other species will never accept human rule. They will not be ruled by humans. They will be governed by a council that includes representatives from every species, including humans. The difference is that this new council will be based on justice instead of fear. As the Battle of Nexus Prime ended, the results were clear. The council fleet had been effectively destroyed, but most of the ships and crews had survived. Only the vessels guilty of war crimes had been eliminated. The others were left untouched, their crews watching in stunned silence as 3 centuries of council power came to an end. Admiral Kyungmin's fleet moved toward Nexus Prime itself. The space station's shields had been lowered, not because they were damaged, but because someone inside had turned them off. "Admiral," came a transmission from the station. "This is Ambassador Mira. On behalf of the innocent members of the Galactic Council, I formally surrender. We request terms for a peaceful transfer of power." "Ambassador Mira," Kyungmin replied, "we accept your surrender. You and Scholar Jiwan will be offered positions in the new government if you wish to serve justice instead of covering up crimes." On the human flagship, Captain Wu Jin was reviewing casualty reports. "Admiral, we have eliminated every ship that participated in the genocide. Total human casualties, 0. Total innocent alien casualties, 0. Total guilty alien casualties, 47,112. The same number of humans who died at Kepler Station," Admiral Kyungmin noted. "Justice has been served." Dr. Hijin joined them on the bridge. "Admiral, I am receiving surrender messages from over 300 planets. The broadcast about the genocide has caused uprisings across the galaxy. Most worlds are welcoming us as liberators, not conquerors." Engineer Jinho looked up from his control station. "The new quantum communication network is complete. Every species in the galaxy can now communicate directly with each other, without going through council filters. The truth can never be hidden again." Admiral Kyungmin walked to the window and looked out at Nexus Prime. The crystal towers still reached toward the purple sky, but now they would serve justice instead of covering up crimes. "Captain Wu Jin," she said, "begin preparations for the transition of power. We have a galaxy to rebuild." "Yes, Admiral, and this time, we will build it right." The human fleet moved toward the space station where the new government would be formed. Behind them, the wreckage of the old order floated in space, a reminder that even the mightiest empires must eventually answer for their crimes. The age of council rule was over. The age of justice had begun.